Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. Boy, it's so pretty out here tonight. It's been a sunny, cool day, a little overcast a few times, but I felt pretty good, so I got out here and separated some hostas and some sedum and black-eyed Susans that had come up. I steal from my perennials and plant them in different places to save money and to have more of them because they get so big, especially my hostas. And I've got to get some dirt for the moles have taken over out there in front. And we've got some weed eating to do, but it was a little bit wet today. And my husband mowed again because the dandelions are popping back up. And I just wanted to thank you guys for all your nice comments and thoughts and prayers about my shingles. I first thought maybe I shouldn't tell you guys all that, but then one of the ladies in the comments said, you know, if you can help one person prevent it or help people that have it find the remedy, then that will have been worth it. And I think that's true. So I hope the ones of you who said you had chickenpox when you were young, I hope you get the vaccine. And if you do get it, I hope you get to the doctor really quick. It helps a lot. So I appreciate all of that. And like I said, I was feeling pretty good today. I'm kind of nervous about when the medicine's over and, you know, afraid that they'll come back because they're going away right now, but they say they can last for a month or a year. So time will tell, but I did feel good today. So tomorrow I'll go get me some dirt and some grass seed and start my front yard, and I think I'll do my backyard next week because it's pretty much done. All I have to do back there is set out a few pots of flowers and do a little raking and cleaning. But anyway, this video today is going to be a little bit sentimental and funny and sweet. I decided a long time ago that when I'm dead and gone, I don't want my boys to come in here and have to go through things and wonder what they need to keep. So I think if I get it down to like 3 or 4 like totes of things that they have to take, then I can say, this is what you have to take. And everything else, donate it, sell it, throw it away, whatever. Don't feel guilty. It's my stuff. I enjoyed it. I don't want you to be burdened by any of my things. And my husband doesn't want him burdened by all his stuff either. So I'm going to say, take these things and you'll have 4 totes to go through. And 1 tote is going to be their Christmas ornaments. They had a lot of the same Christmas ornaments growing up. And 1 is toys. I kept all their Batman and Army Men and dinosaurs and Pokemon cards and Hot Wheels and the cars from the Cars movie and their little Dukes of Hazzard cars and just the toys, Transformers toys that they really enjoyed playing with, that they really, and a couple of fire trucks. But I figure when they, you know, have kids of their own, they'll love breaking out that tote of all their toys and sharing with their kids, because I don't have any of my toys from when I was a kid. I have a few little things, but nothing major. And the other tote would be pictures, and then the last tote would be important papers. Well, I've got those done pretty much. Every time I find pictures, old pictures that aren't in frames or books, I put them in this box. But then I got to thinking, and what do you think about this? I don't know if they'll want pictures of people from the past generations that they didn't even know, and my friends that they don't know. I don't know. I think that, you know, I'm going to put their pictures on top, the recent pictures, and then they can decide about the bottom ones. I think like when they get older and they're men and they get to thinking about their grandpa or their great-grandpa, they didn't even know my mother, so they might want her pictures because they kind of hear me talk about her. But I don't know. I feel like my aunt brought me some pictures of her grandparents and aunts and uncles, and to me it was fascinating to know that that was our original family. So it was interesting to me, but I don't know. But I'm going to just put them all in a tote, and they can, and all the photo albums. And I have photo albums in a cabinet right by my front door that I always thought if there was a fire, I'd get that cabinet out the door to keep my pictures. And then of course I've done a lot of my pictures on my phone, and I have a lot of them so that they're saved in my phone. But anyway, and then important papers, you know, insurance papers and things like that. And So I've been doing that, and of course I had to sit down and go through some of their school papers. And I got so tickled at some of the stuff I'd forgotten about. I'm going to share some of it with you because it's so sweet. And it made me think about my cousin Stephanie. When she's a real tiny girl, she's married and got 2 boys of her own now, but when she was real little, she was real tiny, and she went on a field trip to a bank, and somebody at the bank asked all the kids, does anybody here know what a loan is? And Stephanie raised her hand, and they called on her, and she said, yeah, that's when everybody leaves and you're by yourself. And they put that in their brochure at the bank because it was so funny. And I think about that all the time. She was so cute. And my kids said some pretty funny things on some things, so I was going to show you guys that. And just kind of, yeah, I didn't feel good this morning so much, so I sat and did that for a little bit. And it was kind of sappy, and I cried a few times, and I laughed a lot, and I thought, well, I'll show them that. So we'll go on a sentimental little journey about some funny things that the kids said and did, and some things that I'm keeping for them. And I don't know. You never know what my videos are going to be about. They're not going to be about thrifting today because I haven't done any thrifting since the day I went to the doctor. But I got to put some bird seed in my bird feeder. I don't know if I already told you this. I gave them the last of the bird seed I had from last year, and they ate it all yesterday. So when I go to the home improvement store, here comes Jeff Gordon. When I go to the home improvement store, I will get some bird seed, and we'll watch some birds this year. And I need dirt, and I need some more plants for my little brick post out there at my mailbox. I have a little brick. It's sinking a little bit. I've got to level those bricks up and plant some flowers in there. And it's just, without the cars going by, it's just so peaceful and quiet out here tonight. It's really lovely. And I just wanted to pop on here and talk to you for a minute before I show you the rest of the video, and hope that you guys are having a great day, and I hope that you're having good enough weather that you can get out in the yard a little bit. I'm not going to overdo it. My husband's been watching me. He keeps saying, okay, that's enough, because I get excited when the weather's cool and I don't get all hot working out here. But I'm going to take it easy, and I'm going to go in the house. And it's funny, the girl that I met through YouTube and we've been talking, she sent me a message tonight, and at the end she said, well, I better go, I'm fixing supper. And I wrote back and said, yeah, we just had salmon patties and potatoes and beans. And she wrote back and she said, you're not going to believe this, we had salmon patties and potatoes tonight. She said, I never make those, and I made them tonight. Isn't that weird? So must have both of us had that on our mind, because we don't have it very often either. But boy, it was sure good. And it's getting a little bit cool out here, so I think I'm going to go in. But I'm going to show you what I found and what I kept for the boys, and I think you guys will be tickled with some of the funny things they said. Kids say the darndest things. Isn't that what Art Linklander used to say? He had a TV show about that. I'm telling my age. So I'm going to get off here. Another thing, we mow this whole property, and we don't own way over there by that other cabin. We don't own the property between us and the cabin. It's owned by another man. And we had asked him if he would mow it this summer, because we broke our mower down mowing it because it's mostly weeds. And he said sure, he'd mow it. Well, he didn't. He came over and tried to mow it, and I don't know if his mower broke down or he ran out of gas or whatever. So he didn't get it done, and it grew and grew and grew, and it made our place look so bad. So my husband went out there today, and he said, I'm mowing this. I'm just gonna mow it. So he did. And he hadn't been done a half an hour, and here come the guy with another big tractor to mow it, and it was all done. And he had to travel a little bit to do that, so we felt bad about that, but it's mowed. And we kind of went back and forth with, do we mow it or do we don't, do we not? Because it's not ours, but it looks like it's ours. So since it looks like it's ours, we want it to look nice. And gosh, we've broken down 2 mowers in the last 2 summers trying to mow those. It's not really grass, it's more like weeds, but anyway, who cares, right? So let's get back to the video, and I hope you enjoy this little sentimental journey. So I'm not going to do my Barbra Streisand imitation and sing memories, but I know that you guys have seen a lot of pictures of my boys when they were babies, and they are and always will be the absolute joys of our lives. Well, when they were little, I decided that I wanted to play school with them every afternoon. So we would play school about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and spend about an hour and a half doing little things. I taught them the Pledge of Allegiance, and I taught them some letters. This was before they went to preschool. And they tried to get them to sound out words and stuff, and they could do it. They were only 3 or 4 years old, and they were doing really good with it. And I would type out questions, just random things about life that I thought it'd be cool if they knew before they went to school. And I just wanted them to have a little bit of an understanding of what school was about so that they wouldn't be afraid, and that they would, know what it was all about and what to expect. So I would write out questions, and they would do their best to answer them, and then we would do a little craft or color, and we'd have recess, we'd have a snack, and they just absolutely loved it. So by the time they got ready to go to school, they were ready to go. Although the night before the first night of preschool, Marcus said, "Mom, I'm not going to school tomorrow." And I said, "Yes, you are." And he said, "No, I'm not." But he got up the next morning and he went, but he was always kind of stubborn. But anyway, I was going through all their papers and all their books and everything, and I saw these little papers that they had written, and some of them, I kept all the ones from when we played school, and they're just precious. And some of the questions are really bizarre for as young as they were, but they did really good. And I asked them one day if they remembered playing school, and they said, "Oh yeah, we played school every day." And I'm happy to say they turned out very smart, so maybe it helped them. But they could write and spell their name, and they knew their numbers and colors and everything before they even went. But like here, I had written, "What is a stethoscope?" And Marcus just put a heart. I thought that was so sweet. He just drew a heart. And then I said, "What is a congruent shape?" And I had to explain all the different shapes beforehand before I gave them this test, but they got it right, a shape that is the same as another, and I didn't even remember that. And I'd say, "Name 3 presidents, and who is the president now?" And Marcus wrote, "George Bush." He wrote it like George Bush, how it sounded, and I thought that was cute. But they did pretty good for as little as they were, and how I was teaching them. And then I said, "What are 2 things you should do when you get money?" And Marcus said, "Save, and when you want to, spend." And then Matthew, this was a little thing they did at school. They had to do a journal, and they were supposed to write a paragraph a day. And he wrote something about my mom's cinnamon rolls, and he spelled it with an S. And I thought that was so cute. Most of the kids wrote full paragraphs. Matt just kept it short and sweet and just did one-liners. And his were so funny. And on this one, it said, the teacher corrected it, but he said, "I do not ever been miserable." And she changed it to, "I have not ever been miserable." And she said, "Oh no," or something like that. And it was just sweet that what they wrote, to come up with, "I've never been miserable." It's just a funny line for a kid that's only 8 years old. And then Matt said, "I'm determined to find the Loch Ness Monster." He was on a Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot thing. He was going to find both of those things. And he said he was going to get a tranquilizer gun and get Bigfoot so we could get a picture of him. And he couldn't believe no one had done that yet. Why didn't somebody just tranquilize Bigfoot? And he was always going to get him. Then on one of Marcus's, he said, "I do not want anything for Christmas." And then under the tree, he's got all these presents with his brother's name, and he's got one present with his name marked out, like he's not getting any presents. And I didn't know he had done that. I'd forgotten that he said that was pretty sweet, that he wanted his brother to get all the presents and he didn't want any. So this was kind of funny. One day we were all sitting at the table, and I said, "Hey guys," I said, "let's all write down something that we would like to have as like a family rule or a family mantra that we live by that might make things go a little smoother around here, like always clean up before you go to bed, or always do this, or always do that, just something that'll help." And I don't remember what any of us wrote except for Matt. Matt won. We picked his saying, and his saying said, "You don't have to do," and that's how he spelled it, "you don't have to do what you don't want to do." And that's our family motto. We still say we don't have to do what we don't want to do. And so I thought that was funny. Well, anyhow, Kevin and I, we drove out in the country today because we had to take our truck to a guy that we take it to, and he does things to it, and he had to change the oil and do some other things. So we're driving along this country road, and we were talking about how we wish we could get out in all those woods and mushroom hunt, because they're finding them like crazy. But back in the day when we were kids, you could go mushrooming anywhere. Just go on somebody's property and mushroom. Well, now you can't do that anymore. Everybody's got signs posted, and unless you know somebody that's got land that they'll let you hunt on, you can't. So we were talking about how those days are gone, and we really missed it. But that's how it is around here. Everybody posts their no trespassing signs. And I don't know what these things are called. They're like cornerstones on the sides of driveways of old properties where there used to be old homes. And this one looks like it has an 8 on it. I don't know if they're called cornerstones or markers or what, but when you drive out in the country around here, you see a lot of them. Sometimes only one of them is still there and one of them's gone. And then we saw this big old gnarly tree, and I told Kevin, I said, that looks like the trees in the Wizard of Oz. It looks like they're going to throw apples at you. And then we came along and saw this little donkey, and he was so sweet. But we parked beside him and talked to him, and he would not look at us for anything. And then just as we started to drive away, he finally looked at us. Then we saw these pretty horses. It must have been lunchtime because we parked right beside them, and they wouldn't look at us either. And they seemed to really be enjoying their lunch. And it was a beautiful, cool day, and they had a big old salt lick, and they had a big old thing of water and some food, and they were just going to have lunch. And Kevin kept talking to them, and they just wouldn't even look at us. But they were so beautiful. And not much else has been going on this week after I started feeling better. But I did go with the day that I went to the doctor, I went into Burlington real quick to see if they still had that candle, the peach one. And they didn't have it. And I looked around, and pretty soon I was leaving the store, and I saw one on the bottom shelf just as I left. And I burned it when I got home, and I'll be honest, it doesn't really smell while it's burning. So I took a little chunk of it and put it in my wax melter, and it smelled more like peaches. But one of my viewers said that she found a peach candle at Bath & Body Works that smells really good and does smell like peaches. And then remember that planter I found at Goodwill last year that I thought was from TJ Maxx, and I turned it over and it said it was made in Italy. I just love it. And this year I found a new variety of two-toned pink petunias. So I planted those in there, and I thought it looked really pretty. I thought I saw these flowers last year, but it said they were a new variety. Of course, they could have sold them last year too. But anyway, I'm planting flowers on my porch. And I want to thank you guys, and I hope you guys are all having lovely weather, and we'll get together soon. And I love you from the bottom of my heart.